My name is Miki Kashtan, and this is the Conflict Hotline, where we work with situations from callers and from our experience, and support viewers in learning how to work out conflicts and communicate better. With me in the studio are Newt and Itzel, and together we're going to play with a variety of situations, such as this one that we call You're So Cheap, which features Roger and Sarah, who are a couple.
So Roger, Sunday's coming up. Where are we going to dinner?
The usual.
Are you serious? You're so cheap. It's Valentine's Day.
Don't call me cheap. You are so obnoxious.
What? It's Valentine's Day. We should live it up a little bit. I mean, this is a holiday.
Thank you. Anything like this ever happened to you in your life? If something like this or any other kind of situation has happened for you in your life that is a conflict, the purpose of this show is to support you in learning how to work out and grow in your capacity to work out situations in your life. The cast and some of the crew are affiliated with Bay Area Nonviolent Communication, and the rest of the crew are affiliated with Berkeley Community Media, which are also hosting the show and giving us access to the studio. We rely on calls from the audience, so if you would like to participate in this show, please call us today. And the number for this month is a little different from other numbers, from other months. The number is 510-848-5483. And please wait, if there's another caller on the line, please wait until they're done, because there's only one line here. And today we have a special focus because Valentine's Day is coming up. So we invite you in particular to call with situations that you might have with a partner or spouse, such as?
Maybe disagreements about money or how much time you spend together.
Or you might have disagreements about what you do when you are spending time together.
And you're also welcome to call with other conflicts. Let's go back to the scenario and see what we can do with it.
So, Roger, Valentine's Day is coming up. Sunday, what are we doing for dinner?
You know, the usual.
You're so cheap. It's Valentine's Day.
Don't call me cheap. You're just being obnoxious now.
No, I mean, this is a holiday where we're supposed to be celebrating love and companionship. Why don't we do something new and fun?
What?
Thank you. Let's pause for a moment. I don't have a sense that for either of you this conversation is moving towards what you want. Is it for you?
No.
Is it for you?
I don't think so.
So let's see what can happen that might actually bring you towards a place of more closeness and intimacy and the celebration that I'm sure you both want. Which one of you would like to kind of like stretch to see how to face this particular conflict?
I could try.
Okay, so where do you think is your first chance to do something different?
Well, as soon as he mentions that we're going to do the usual restaurant, as soon as he mentioned that, I got pretty upset. So at that moment.
Yeah. So what do you think will happen to him when you call him cheap?
He gets upset.
It's not, it seems pretty basic, but we constantly forget it. That if we call somebody names, they're not likely to want to give us what we want. It's going to have an effect on them, and we forget it. If it's somebody that we care about, we forget it. So, you want to try from the top?
Sure.
I'll sit with you and see
Okay.
what happens.
Okay, so Roger, Sunday, what are we doing for dinner?
You know, the usual.
Okay, I'm noticing that I'm getting really upset hearing you say that because it's Valentine's Day, and so I want to celebrate in a way that's special or different from the usual. And so I think maybe I just need to take a minute and gather my thoughts and figure out what exactly is happening for me. Do you mind hanging on for 1 second?
Sure.
I just, while you're doing this, I want to check in with you. Was that easier to digest than being called cheap?
Yes. Yes.
And what is tragic is when she said, "You're so cheap," that's really what she was trying to say. When she says you're so cheap, she's really trying to say, I want something special, I want to celebrate. But it doesn't come across that way.
Right, right.
I imagine that when you heard what she really wants, something happened inside of you that moved a little bit towards her. Did that happen for you?
Well, certainly I moved away less quickly.
Uh-huh. You're very good
I'm a
at
little
getting criticism.
Yeah, I'm very
It's
good
not
at.
there.
Yeah, I'm expecting. It's still going to come, even though she's kind of whiffling about it or whatever. But I'm still imagining that it's coming.
Yeah. Part of what is going on is when we have habitual patterns in a relationship, even if one partner tries to break them, the other one is still expecting the same kind of communication, so they're going to fill in the gap. And sometimes those patterns are not even about this relationship. If somebody is habituated to hearing blame and criticism and name-calling from people, they're going to read into what you're saying, even if you're not saying it. So it takes quite a bit of persistence to kind of like transform the pattern so that he can hear what you are saying in this moment, separate from whatever he's used to. Did this give you enough time to
Yeah.
connect with yourself?
Yes.
So what did you discover?
Yeah. Well, I discovered that this relationship is really meaningful to me, and I wanted Valentine's Day to be an opportunity for us to really celebrate that. And so I wanted to do something that was unique and special. And so when I heard you say you wanted to do the usual, I felt really disappointed because I was hoping that you felt the same way.
And now just remember to make a request of him. What would you like him? I mean, you gave him so much about yourself. What would you like back?
Would you be willing to tell me how you feel about this relationship?
I feel good about the relationship. I mean, we're just talking about Sunday night dinner. I wasn't thinking about anything for dinner particularly.
I guess I was wondering if it's meaningful to you, and if celebrating it is something that would be enjoyable for you.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I guess so. Yeah.
Okay.
So what are you sensing when he's saying, all these things?
That those are maybe not his words that he would use to express whatever it is he's feeling, and I'm not sure how to get to that.
So what the sense that I get is that he's feeling awkward.
Okay.
Did I pick that up?
Mm-hmm.
Really, it's like the whole body is like a little bit like I don't know how to fit this into the me that I know.
Right.
But I also don't want to disappoint her again, having already disappointed her about my choice of dinner. Now I don't know what to do. So there's a way that I can imagine that your expression, as much as it's coming from the fullness of your heart, fills the space with you, and in some way doesn't leave room for him to have the experience that he's having and what's meaningful to him. It's like still somehow he's left with some idea that either he fits the bill that you're putting out as what's right, or else there's going to be some punishment. Did I read that accurately?
Yeah, it's like I've got to suddenly spontaneously be coming up with all these kind of gushy feelings, which I'm not particularly, that's not where I was. And now I've got to come out with meaning and everything, like maybe later I'll be there, but not in this moment,
Yeah. So there's a way when you ask him, is this relationship meaningful to you? There's a right answer and a wrong answer.
Right.
It's not an open, spacious question.
Right. I completely get that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we often do this. It's like we so much want something that will be shared, that we think we're inviting the other person, but we're actually kind of like pulling on them. Come on, be in this relationship with me, you know? How would you know that she got it?
Well, if she starts going to lunch with them, then I would get it. I'd see that she got it, yeah.
Yeah, but there's a difference between somebody getting what you want and somebody agreeing to do something about it.
Oh.
And when you want to give somebody feedback, there's a step of just having shared understanding of what is being talked about that is separate from whether the person is going to do it or not. Because first there is what is happening, and then there's the suggestions, and then there's seeing if the suggestions will actually work for this person. Because they might work for you, but if they don't work for her, and we had talked about power. If you give somebody a suggestion and they can't say no to it now in the moment, they're likely to say no to it later, and you won't see the results that you want. For example, if there is a specific reason why she doesn't like to go with the guys to lunch, then she'll say, sure, I'll go with them, but she won't.
Right.
I'm sure you've seen that happen time and time again.
So I should ask her if there's any specific reason why she's not going to the...
That would help. That would help.
Okay.
And then one of the other things that you gain by that is another issue that often happens in workplaces is bosses don't hear all the information.
That's for sure.
There's a lot that happens that people don't tell you because they're afraid.
Yeah.
But if you are inviting it, and in a context where there isn't going to be negative consequences to telling you the truth, then she's more likely to want to tell you.
Right.
So let's see what she says.
Yeah, so I'm just wondering why it is that you've not been choosing to do that so far.
Choosing to spend more lunches with my colleagues?
Yeah.
Well, I guess I'm not curious why you're asking me that. I'm not really comfortable.
Just because I'm thinking that if I ask you to do that, but really it's not something that you want to do, then...
Well, I don't want to do it, that's right.
Right, exactly, and that's what I want
That's why I haven't been doing it.
Right,
I don't
and
want
that's what I want to understand, if there's something for me to understand about that.
It's really hard for me to talk about that. I'm not sure I want to tell you why I don't want to have lunch with them. If you're telling me I have to...
No, I'm not, no.
Let's pause this for a second, because this is a very rich moment. I mean, you are very uncomfortable, but you are actually telling him something already. You're telling him more truth than you have been, aren't you?
Yeah, I feel pretty vulnerable about it, but yeah.
Yeah. And you want the truth.
Now I do, now that you've suggested that, yeah.
Yeah. You see that, you are uncovering something slowly. If you handle this with enough grace, you will learn something that as a boss is essential for you to know about the functioning of the team.
I'm worried though, that this is exactly why I don't ask this kind of thing. You see, she feels like she's on the spot now, and I've put her on the spot. So, and that doesn't.
So what can you imagine saying to her to reassure her that there won't be negative consequences?
I could just tell her that.
Do you have a sense of what she might be worried about? Why she doesn't want to tell you?
That it might jeopardize her good standing with me as a boss, and that has lots of repercussions.
Okay,
possible.
that could be one thing. You can check with her if that's the concern.
That it might get back to the other people is something
that could be a second concern. So let's check with her what her concern is, and then see if you can reassure her. Because workplaces are very, 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 full of consequences.
Right.
So if you want to create more truth, there needs to be a way to reduce the threat of consequences.
Right.
So let's see if we can do that.
So I want you to know, really, Julia, there's no consequence one way or the other of you telling me the reason, not telling me the reason, going for lunch with them, not going for lunch with them. That was just a suggestion about one of the ways that the team works. So, how's that for you to hear me say that?
I'm not entirely clear what you mean by no consequences. It's confusing to me. I'm not going to get in any trouble for...
Right. Can I explain what I mean? I got the impression that you were a little bit nervous about saying anything more about that. and I'm guessing you're nervous because you're thinking there might be some negative consequence of telling me or something like that. And so I'm just wanting to reassure you that there's definitely not. You know,
Well, I have to work with these people, and if you're telling me that I need to sit at lunch with them in order to do my job more effectively, then that's coming from you, and obviously I'll have to do that. But you're asking me why I haven't been sitting with them for lunches up until now, and that seems like it's just uncomfortable talking about that. I'm not sure this is the right place that I should bring that kind of thing up.
right. And I guess what I'm really wanting you to get is that if there's some reason which is really big for you why you don't want to do it, then I don't want to force you to do it. So what are you getting from me at that moment saying that?
You're telling me that if there's a real big reason for me for not wanting to have lunch with them, then I don't have to.
Right.
So I'm curious if you trust that.
I want to trust it, but I feel like I'm in this really awkward situation right now where I don't know what I'm supposed to do, what I'm going to get in trouble for.
And part of the difficulty is that the norm in most workplaces doesn't convey a care for the well-being of employees. Its employees are there to do their job.
Right.
And what you are trying to do here is to subvert that norm and convey to Julia that her well-being matters to you.
Yeah.
And I have a sense that you are making some headway, but it's still hard for her to trust.
Right. Yeah, it's not going to happen instantly.
The change in her trust. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I've never asked anything like this before, so.
Yeah. So I'm thinking acknowledging that something different is happening right now might help her.
Okay. Yeah, you know, I get the impression that you're a bit nervous about this, and this is a little bit of a weird conversation to be having. And so I just want to be honest with you and say, I'm trying out something new here, which I haven't done before. So you won't have seen this here before. Okay. And that's something about, you know, I got some guidance that actually taking more of an interest in how the people reporting to me are actually doing and what's going on for them and what's, you know, what they're worried about or whatever is going to be advantageous for them, for me, for the company and everything. So I'm just trying that out right now.
Okay.
I wanted to know if that's at all reassuring or how it is for you to hear me say that.
It's a little reassuring. I'm confused though, because where we started this conversation, you told me I'm not being a team player. And so that really got me thinking that I had done something wrong and that you were reporting to me that these coworkers who I'm not sitting with at lunch had said something to you, and now I need to do that. So now that I'm hearing you saying that we're doing something different, and you asked me if I was reassured. I mean, I guess I'm reassured, but I'm still. Yeah,
that was kind of the old model of how I do things. Me just telling you that you're not a team player, and then I've just remembered that I want to try a different way of connecting with the people in the team. Okay. You know, right. So for me, it's a change that's happening here. You know, so. Yeah.
Okay, all right. That's actually very reassuring hearing you say that. Thank you.
I think the message that you're trying to send across is, I want the result that I want, and I want it in a way that works for you.
Right.
I don't want the result at cost to you.
Yes.
That I think is the essence of the message. So then Julia can really see that there's no contradiction. Yes, all other things being equal, you would like her to go to lunch with her coworkers. But right now you're investigating the cost. And if the cost is high, you would want to look for a different strategy to create the result that you want.
Right. It doesn't have to be that.
Yeah. And that's something that can be communicated directly to someone. I want this and not at cost to you.
Yeah.
And I'm curious if you feel comfort enough to say what it is, because I have a sense that there may be something really important for Boss here to hear.
Yeah, I'm a lot more comfortable now. I don't think the dynamics between me and a lot of my coworkers is so pleasant. As an example of I was really scared when you said I need to be more a team player. I imagine that they've probably been saying some things about me behind my back that got to you, and now I'm in trouble for it. So I'm not experiencing the real, ease of working with them and the fun and the play of it. So that it's the thought of being with them during my free time, and then to find out that that's a productive time to do work with them. That made my stomach drop.
Right. Yeah.
So now you know that you have trouble in the team.
Mm-hmm.
This didn't solve the problem.
Sure.
But it gives you the information that you, as a boss, need in order to intervene and find a way to make that team work. Just telling her, be a team player, is not going to create that result because it blocks you from seeing what you need to see.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Okay. I just, before we close this, I want to give you a little piece of coaching because not everybody is a boss. Mm-hmm. And there are things that you can do when somebody gives you feedback, even if they give you feedback that's not effective, to train them on the spot to give you feedback, even though they don't know how. Mm-hmm. And what you can do is, what you want to convey to them is that you want their feedback, you want the result that they want, and here's what you need in order to get to the next step. So the first thing, instead of saying, I don't understand what you mean by team player, which as the boss would sound like a little bit like you pushing back or not being uncooperative or something like this. If you say something, and I want to check with you, if Julia were to say something like, I'm grateful that you're telling me this, and I want to learn how I can be a better team player, and it would help me if you can give me 2 or 3 specific examples of what you have in mind.
That would be great.
It doesn't look to him like training, but I was just training him on what would work for me. Mm-hmm. And even without formal power, you can always train people by giving them the message that you share their goals and you want their support in moving towards those goals.
Yeah.
Anything else before we sit down?
No, that was nice.
Thank you. Let's sit down and see what we could learn from this. So is there anything that stands out to you from this work that we just did?
For me, something about, especially the thing about that if you're trying to do something new in how you communicate with people, especially if there's a power differential, being honest enough to say, I've just been to a workshop, mm-hmm. and I learned some things there which I think could be really great. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to try them and you can give me some feedback, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. How about you? Anything that stands out to you?
I was really surprised at how just imagining Newt as my boss made me tense, and I heard everything coming from him from this sense of being less than and mm-hmm. being powerless. And so your coaching at the end was really helpful, a way of
empowering yourself. Yeah. The main thing that is standing out to me is how, regardless of power differences, when people have a sense of a shared goal, they can work better together. And there are different things that you can do as boss or as employee to work towards having a sense of shared purpose. And that when you're the boss, it's really important to communicate to the other person, not at cost to you. That's essential in order to get a sense of collaboration. Okay, let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll come back to another scenario, and the other scenario is called You're Late.
Invoke the water, honor the earth, burn in the fire, breathe in the air. Invoke the water, honor the earth, burn in the fire. It's okay that it turned out this way, 'cause I can always use time for myself. came to breathe in the air, invoke the water, honor the earth, burn in the fire, breathe in the air, invoke the water, honor the earth, burn in the fire.
Welcome back to the Conflict Hotline. This is Miki Kashtan. If you would like to join us, you can call at 510-433-0700. And if you're watching this on YouTube, the next show will be on the first Thursday of April at 7:30, and you can call that same number then. And so we are going back to our next scenario. All the scenarios that we have planned for today are taking place in the same organization. So we still have Robert, but this time Jared is Fred, not Julia. Hello, Fred.
Hi.
And we are at a meeting that Robert and Fred and a few other people that we don't see on the screen are at. And Robert.
I see you coming in there, Fred. You're late. We were meant to start at 10. It's 10:15. So thanks for showing up.
Yeah, you're welcome. Glad to be here.
Yeah. If I can just... 10 was the time we were meant to be starting. Are you picking up on that?
Yeah, I got that.
You don't seem very concerned about it, Fred.
Oh, are you upset about this?
I am not upset. The start time is 10 o'clock. It's not about my upset.
I got that. 10 o'clock. I'm here, I'm ready.
Right, and it's now 10:17 and you're here and ready.
Yeah, should we begin?
Well, we may need to speak about this later, I think.
So, you are a little upset about it.
Fred, this is nothing to do with my upset. This is to do with your punctuality.
Yeah, but I just asked you if you were upset about it, and you said that you weren't upset about it, but clearly you're upset about it. If you're upset about it, just say you're upset about it.
I can't believe what I'm hearing, quite frankly.
That makes two of us.
Okay, thank you. How confident are either of you that this conversation, if it were to continue without assistance, would lead to a place that you would be satisfied with?
Not very likely.
Probably not so nice, but I have a sense my character might be comfortable with the escalation.
You are comfortable with the escalation?
Well, maybe.
Fred's just comfortable. Full stop. I think he's just comfortable, no matter what, it seems to me.
And you don't like that?
Well, not if it means that other people are waiting around for his input or,
So there is something you want from him?
Yes, I want him to arrive on time.
Yeah. And the way that you're talking to him about it clearly is not reaching him.
Right. It's like he's living in cloud cuckoo land or something. Yeah.
He's some other place that is not affected by what you're saying.
Clearly. Yeah.
Are you curious what is going on for him?
No.
Then you will keep having him late for meetings. That's the sad reality.
Not if I fire him, I won't.
Right, but then you won't have his talents. And he has some really unique and irreplaceable talents. You want him around.
Right, that's why he's getting so cocky and full of himself and thinks he doesn't need to show up on time.
Okay, but the principle here is that if you want something so much that you're not curious about the other person, you're not likely to get it.
Well.
Just imagine yourself in his shoes.
Okay.
There's clearly something going on. There's a reason why he's late.
Well, maybe. not a good reason.
I don't know, good or not good. There is a reason. For everything that happens, there is some reason.
Oh, well, yeah, okay. Philosophically, yeah, okay.
You don't know why he's late.
I don't know why he's late, no. I know it's not the first time.
Yes. And you have said something like what you said today all of these times.
Yes, that's right.
And I don't have a sense that it has gotten you very far.
No.
So I'm going to inquire into Fred. He's not hearing us right now.
Mm-hmm.
He's not hearing us right now.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens to you when he says all of these things about you being late? What goes on inside of you that you would never tell him?
That I would never say?
Yeah.
I just kind of give up. I don't really care.
And why is that? Do you know?
I mean, probably out of some sense of hopelessness that I'll never, that it doesn't really matter what I do. And the best thing he could do would be to fire me.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess a sense of defeat is what would be my real truth.
Yeah, and so even though I said you don't hear it because we are going in and out of role play, you heard it. Within the role play, he would never say this to you. But as you are thinking about it right now, if somebody has such a sense of hopelessness, they wouldn't have a motivation to show up on time,
Mm-hmm.
and they wouldn't have a motivation to listen to you and want to give you anything that you want. So if
Right.
there's any hope in getting what you want, it's about transforming the nature of this relationship.
Mm.
And that probably started 2 or 3 years ago.
Right. Yeah.
So,
Seems tough.
yeah. When there is a persistent pattern, it takes effort and care to change it. Very often at the heart of persistent patterns like this, there is a lack of trust that the person matters.
But you know, Mickey, this is all very well, but we pay him. Not me, I'm just another employee, but the company pays him to come here and do the job. So,
Yeah.
you know, where do I have to suddenly start being his, you know, his whatever, his wet nurse or his therapist or whatever it is that you're asking me to do?
I appreciate the dilemma. And one of the principles that I like to say is, it is not about what is fair. It is only about what is possible. What is possible to create here between the two of you? Do you have a sense?
No idea yet, no.
But if you come to it with an open mind and experiment and try to reach connection, what would happen? Just try in whatever way you can imagine to reach connection here. Let's see what happens.
Okay. You want me to?
He just walked in. It's 10:17.
I think if I'm trying to reach connection, given what happened before, I'm just going to say, morning, Fred. We just talked a little bit about what Susan was doing last week, and that's pretty much as far as we've got so far. So, Susan, would you be able to fill Fred in after the meeting on what he missed? Okay, good. So, are you okay with just going forward from there?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay.
So I'm concerned about this approach
Okay.
because here you're giving up on yourself.
No, I'm not. I'm planning to not have the conversation with him in front of everyone else in the meeting.
Got it. Got it. So your conscious choice is to make this moment as smooth as possible
Yeah.
and have the conversation at a later moment.
And do something different than what happened before, where it was just that
Yeah.
fruitless back and forth. I just thought I'd just do something different this time.
And I bet even there was some relief for you, because when you walk in the door knowing you're late, you know, like, oh, once again I'm going to have to face all that sarcasm.
Mm-hmm. It was a little bit better. You know, the piece with getting caught up with Susan later it felt like a little bit of a dig, but maybe that was my guilty conscience.
Mm-hmm. All right, so here you are. The meeting is over.
Okay, can I just have a chat with you, Fred, before we go back to our desks?
Yeah, I'm right here, man.
Okay. I want to try something different. So let's see how this goes. I'm guessing that you've got some perfectly good reasons why you're showing up at meetings, 15, 20 minutes late pretty regularly. And I'm aware...
It's not that regularly. I mean, it happens once in a while. Okay, it happens a lot, but
right.
Not every time. I mean, sometimes I make it on time.
Right. But on the occasions when it does happen, I'm guessing that you've got something that's, something going on which makes that happen.
Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, I'm trying to be here. I'm
Right.
definitely trying to be here, but
Right.
just stuff comes out, and sometimes I'm late.
Right. And I realize that in all the time, we've been working together, I've never really asked you about that. I've just told you that I want you to be on time, and we've often had that kind of friction when you come in and so on. And I'm just wanting to try and figure it out if there's something that I could understand about it that I don't already understand.
You're asking me why I'm late?
I guess I'm asking more than that. I'm asking how it's going for you working for me and how it's going for you working in a team, because the impression that I'm getting is that you're not particularly loving it very much, and that's part of why that you're not showing up on time, is because you're just not feeling very motivated.
Yeah, I think there's probably some of that's probably true.
So I get a sense that you're getting some traction.
Right.
Different conversation.
It's a different conversation.
The Teflon has cracks in it. Something is coming through.
Right.
He's engaging with you.
Right.
And that's the beginning of change. We don't know where that's going to go. That's the beginning of change.
Right.
So now I want to see, because I'm so committed to whatever the situation, whatever the setup, each person can change what is happening. I want to see, suppose Robert doesn't change at all. What is it that you might do to transform the situation? Because I get a sense if you're regularly late and you're regularly getting, chastised in ways that are really unpleasant, and just have to put all this effort in pushing it away and deflecting it, it's stressful, isn't it?
Yeah.
So maybe you can kind of like try to gather up some courage and see what is it that you would need to say to Robert.
I'm not even sure it's something I could say to Robert. It seems like it seems so big, the whole system, the whole meetings, everyone. I really think the most empowering, self-responsible decision I could make would just be to find a new job. It feels so hopeless working at this organization.
And this is what often happens, is people think that the only way out is out.
Yeah.
And I would like to see if, before deciding whether you're going out or not, since in any event it doesn't seem like you're going out. You've been in this
I'm going about 15 or 20 minutes late on the regular.
Yeah, but you're not actually leaving.
Right.
And you have been doing this for 2 years?
Yeah.
So there's usually quite a bit of suffering in that, in just staying and not doing anything about it and not leaving. So let's see, given that you are staying, if there is something that you can do about it. If you were to kind of like boil it down to what's something about the system that bothers you?
I think meetings aren't as efficient or effective as I would like.
Okay, and what specifically, what would you like to see happen?
I'd like there to be more order, more purpose, agenda items kept to, commitments made, follow through.
And what would keep you from putting together a proposal and approaching Robert about it?
My sense is some idea that he's not effective enough at doing that. Like some thought, some judgment of him that he can't do that.
Okay, so really what we're talking here about is about an employee giving feedback to a boss when there isn't necessarily a system in place for doing that.
Yeah. Yes.
So if you all remember, we said we would talk about power, so I want to take a moment to talk about that because what happens is when you don't have the power, you need to have more skill and capacity to make up for the lack of power so that the person will be motivated to listen to you. So one of the key things that you can do to support yourself in that is to frame it and to intend it to be with his best interests in mind. You're doing it not as a complaint, but as an attempt to support him. There is some good chance that if you don't have a sense that the meetings are effective, he doesn't either. Let me just check with him offline. Is it true that you're not particularly thrilled about the way the meetings are going?
I don't like to think about it too much, you know. I just kind of push through and do it. I talk my way through it. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
meetings are that way, you know.
Yeah. So there is a general hopelessness in the culture about meetings. But it sounds like you might have some ideas about how to make the meeting more productive. So it might be a relief and a gift to him. So see if you can just try like the beginning of a conversation of where you come to him with a proposal and see if that changes the dynamic between you. Are you open to trying that?
Yeah, I'm open to trying that.
Of course, he hasn't heard anything that we've talked about,
Right.
including what he has said.
Right. So, Robert, would you mind if I took a minute of your time?
Sure.
I guess the first thing I'm curious about is I want to have a sense if you're enjoying the way meetings have been going lately.
Well, you know, meetings are meetings. You know, they're a necessity. You know.
Okay.
I mean, you can't expect to have fun, particularly, right? That's what I'm saying. It's just something we have to do. It's business.
Right. So I'm hearing you don't expect them to be fun, but are you finding them effective?
Well, we seem to be getting along, you know. So I don't. Why? Where's this headed?
Well, I'm glad you're asking me that. I guess to be really transparent, I'm having a very hard time at the meetings. They're not going as well as I would like, and I'm really I have some ideas for how they could go better and some observations, and I guess I'm bringing this to you in the hopes that maybe my hope was if you had a similar sense of how the meetings were going as I did, there might be room to come up with some strategies for how they could be made more to my liking.
So you don't like the way that I facilitate?
So I want to. I mean, it's a start.
Yeah.
And let me give you 2 pointers. One is he may not even be aware or willing to admit that he doesn't like the way the meetings are going, especially if he has some dissatisfaction with you. But if you were to just say something like that you have some ideas about how the meetings could go better and you think that he might like them and that he might get more out of the meetings, I have a sense that might be less challenging for him. Is that true?
A little bit less, yeah.
Yeah. Especially if you have the ideas written clearly and it doesn't make it look like he's doing something wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, I can relate. That makes a lot of sense.
All right. Anything that you want to say in closing about this scenario before we take a break?
I'm amazed that when someone's my boss, just how kind of intimidating that is. I didn't realize I carried that much tension around it. And for me, there was so much more play and ease about showing up late and having this cavalier attitude. It was much harder to be invested in repairing the relationships or asking for what I would like.
Mm-hmm. Anything stands out to you?
Just how easy it is to get stuck in a pattern and keep on repeating the same kind of dynamic again and again and again, and something about just getting another opinion actually on how to do something different. Yeah.
So it's like getting a fresh perspective from the outside support,
Right.
and it's so easy to forget about asking for support.
Yeah. Yeah. To admit that you don't know what to do about it. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's take another break, and when we come back, we will do one more scenario, which we call "Let Me Do My Work," and it will feature Robert, and Jared will be Susan.
Sometimes I feel like an angel, sometimes I feel like the devil, sometimes I am free, sometimes I am bound, and I have been recruited, and I've been persecuted, and it just seems to keep coming around. Yes, but I am not afraid of the man today, 'cause he revealed himself in a past life interaction we had. Make no mistake, he burned me at the stake, but it did not hurt that bad because I breathe in the air.
Welcome back to the Conflict Hotline. And our current scenario, and it's going to be really brief because we're close to the end, is called "Let Me Do My Work." And it features, once again, our boss, Robert, who is actually Newt in real life, and Susan, who you can easily see is in real life Jared.
Okay. Okay, Susan, I emailed you a list of action items this morning before you came in, 8:30, and I just need to know, it's already, we're pushing noon, so could you tell me how many of those you've got ticked off? It was probably 13.
Robert.
It was 14.
Robert.
Yeah.
Do you remember when you gave me this task, you said that you really were going to trust me to take care of this on my own, and you were going to let me have a lot of space and autonomy?
Absolutely.
Do you remember?
Absolutely, totally,
And remember
yeah.
you asked me to point out to you when you started to micromanage and invade my process a little bit? Do you remember?
Invade your process? I don't think I told you that I was going to be invading
Well,
your
those weren't
process.
your exact words, but you did say that you were really going to trust me to take care of this on my own.
Yeah, they were not my exact words, Susan.
Okay.
And I'm just simply asking you, I'm not micromanaging, I'm most certainly not invading. I am trying to find out feedback on the email that I sent you. I don't see that that's so out of order.
This is the kind of thing that we were talking about that you do that really disrupts the flow and the ease and the fun and the diligence I have with doing these projects. I'd just like some trust from you that I am taking care of it. I will get you everything you need, but I'm taking care of it. Can you give me some space?
Okay. Fair enough. Can you just give me a number of how many action items you've covered? I mean, would that be too much to ask, and without any details? Just
I haven't looked. I'm
There were
somewhere on the
13.
list. I'll let you know by the end of the day. End of the day. Can you wait until the end of the day?
okay.
You want to know
Okay.
how many action items I've taken care of by the end of the day?
I would like to. Yeah.
end of
And
the
which
day.
ones?
Okay, end of the day. I'll let you know by the end of the day.
Okay. Actually, there is just one, number 6. If you remember number 6.
Do you
That-
hear yourself?
No, but that's
Do you hear yourself?
It's a very
Do
important.
you hear yourself?
Thank you. Let's pause for a second. Unfortunately, we won't be able to get all the way through this, but there's so much richness here. I can just really see how much both of you want to make it work,
Yeah.
and each of you is stepping on the other person's toes
Right.
in a way that is so unpleasant. And I really get that you want to work it out.
Yeah.
And you know what you did that contributed to him losing the capacity to hear?
I accused him of invading my
Yes.
space.
Of course. As soon as you use language that in any way implies blame, the other person is not going to be able to hear anymore. Even if you had a conversation, the conversation that you had probably didn't include the words invade.
No.
And so then he is going to be defensive from beginning to end once you said that. Once you said that. That's one thing. The other thing on your end, I'm getting a sense that there is quite a bit of anxiety for you about really ensuring that the results will happen.
Yeah, there's a lot of pressure. There's pressure on me from other people, you know, that I'm protecting her from.
And I was left wondering whether the agreement that you tried to make with her last time you talked about it, where you said that you were going to let her do it her way, whether that was something that you really wholeheartedly agreed to.
No, not wholeheartedly. No.
Yeah, and this is one of the other keys to making communication work in the workplace and everywhere else. If you get somebody to agree to something for any reason other than wholeheartedly, they will sabotage the agreement, consciously or unconsciously. They will just not do it.
Right.
And so I'm curious if you have quick access to what led you to say yes, even though it was not really a yes?
Because she was very worked up, and I just wanted her to calm down.
Okay, so that delays the conflict.
Yeah.
It never prevents it.
Right.
And then it comes back, usually stronger.
Right.
It doesn't go away.
That's what's happened.
Okay, so you have an agreement that doesn't really exist.
Yeah.
So what it looks to me like is you're going to need to really look more closely at what is happening. What is it that keeps you in some fashion not trusting her? Is it something that she did?
Right.
Or is it something outside both of your control?
Right.
If it's something that she did, then be honest about it. Because if she can recognize that, you know, like 1 out of 4 times she doesn't actually complete the tasks, she might be more willing to view your questions as support.
Right.
If it isn't something that she does, if it's something outside both of your control, then you two can form an alliance, partnership, to figure out what you can do with the pressures that you're under, instead of you protecting her from those pressures, but giving her different pressures indirectly. So that's my
Quick coaching.
Quick coaching. Hopefully this will support the relationship transforming over time.
Yeah.
And let's go back, and I think we are coming up to the end, but before the end, I'm wondering, even with this quick coaching, was there any aha for you about this?
The aha, as you said, was for me was the agreement that wasn't so, and having, from my end, I would have liked to have been more attentive to that when we made that agreement.
Yeah. And for you?
Just the possibility of explaining, like seeing that I'm anxious about this, and maybe finding a way to tell the truth about why that is. It's a touchy thing though, because I'm trying to be the boss and all in control, but just that possibility maybe.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So now kind of like let's take a step back on the show as a whole, which we're coming to the end of, and just any of the themes that we covered today that stands out to you. What are you left with from what we did today?
For me, it would be just that simple requirement to give specifics rather than using the word to be. You are lazy. You
Late.
need to be. Yeah, you are late. You need to be a team player. those kind of generalizations and descriptions, and instead say, I've heard that you've done this, or I've seen you do this, or I want you to do this, specifics. So.
Thank you. How about you?
A greater appreciation of how charged and complicated the workplace is. Just the container that is the workplace, with so many nuances of top-down and interpersonal relationships. How navigating that in this way that's more likely to get everyone's cooperation is challenging.
Yeah, and for me, what stands out to me is paradoxically how much all of that falls away. And at the heart of it are two human beings trying to connect to each other within a system that has structures and dynamics that are larger than their creation, but they can still find a way to reach through it. So if you found this interesting, please check out this month. We have a bunch of opportunities related to workplace communication that you can participate in this month and the next 2 months. The website is www.baynvc.org. If you want to send us feedback or suggested scenarios for next time, send it to conflicthotline@baynvc.org. Thank you to Jared.
Thank you.
Thank you to Newt.
Thank you.
I appreciate how you really rolled with the rather challenging scenarios, if I may say so. And I am appreciating all the people on the crew who are also all volunteers. And I invite you to call us back and watch us next month, the first Thursday of every month at 7:30. See you then. Good night.
I take a deep, dark breath of your fear. Breathe out compassion to you. And the next breath is for all the people who can relate to me and you. You cannot see eye to eye. Won't you step up with me and try? Drop the fences down, find the common ground, and take a deep breath. To free